NFL draft? Check. Preseason? Check. Roster cutdowns? Check. Hype for the season opener? Triple check, check, check. Welcome to Ravens Talk. I'm your host, Samuel Njoku. That game is mere hours away. Ravens-Chiefs rematch. I know a lot of people don't like it being called that, but rematch of the AFC Championship game between the Ravens and Chiefs. We'll talk all about that game. It's a big one. We'll talk all about that game. We'll dissect the season as a whole. We'll talk about what can be some challenges. What are the strengths of the Ravens franchise, this team, as we enter the 2024 season? We'll give away some superlatives. What do we think is going to happen as far as who's going to stand out on offense and defense for the Ravens? And we'll give our predictions for the season as a whole. Can the Ravens do what they weren't able to do last season and that's win this championship? We'll find out in this show. But first, let's get down to business. Ravens, Chiefs. If you've been with us since the beginning, then you know the Ravens and the Chiefs didn't go the way a lot of people thought, myself included. Everything was there for the Ravens as far as seizing an opportunity to head to Las Vegas to battle the 49ers, but wasn't meant to be. The Ravens get another crack at the Chiefs, another chance to set the tone for the season and potentially catapult themselves as one of the favorites, at least on the onset, for possibly winning their third Lombardi trophy. What is the matchup looking like? Let's talk about it, because I've heard a lot of things from some pundits and I've seen some things that have me scratching my head a little bit. First and foremost, let's talk about the Ravens. Not the same team as last year. Let's start there. This team is not the same as last year. The Ravens are a different team. Gus Edwards, gone. J.K. Dobbins didn't play, much, if at all. Gone. Keaton Mitchell, still recovering from the ACL tear a season ago. Enter Derrick Henry. Totally changes the landscape of this offense. It just does. And you could talk about how he's a little older, a little slower. Can he, fit into this offense? He's never had a scheme like this. Throw it out the window. Derrick Henry is a top 5 back. And you give Lamar Jackson, who, let's be real, the rushing attack has all been about Lamar Jackson. The running backs, though great, and Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins really benefited from the defense having to focus in on Lamar and creating lanes in the run, bigger than what some would have in other franchises. Now you have a guy like Derrick Henry who demands attention, demands the ball, demands the focus of the defensive coordinator. He has to. And you couple that with the skill set that Lamar Jackson brings on the field, and it is tough for any franchise. Forget about the Chiefs right now. Let's focus on the Ravens and how they are going to be a tough out for any defense this season with those two. So are you going to stop Derrick Henry? Are you going to stop Lamar Jackson? Do you have a solid plan to stop both? And if you really do focus in on stopping the run, do the Ravens have what it takes this year to finally have the passing attack that mimics the power of the rushing attack? Probably not. I mean, that's asking for a lot. The Ravens are historically great at running the football. So we'll see. We shall see what happens this year. But just on paper, the Derrick Henry-Lamar Jackson duo is going to be deadly. Simply put, deadly. Now you have Zay Flowers. He's back. Second season, freshman year, one of the best ever. Just a phenomenal year from Zay Flowers. Very much looking to see how he improves upon his freshman year into a sophomore year and what he does and how he impacts the game for the Ravens in 2024. You have Mark Andrews. Enough said. Name me a tight end, not named Travis Kelce, that's better than Mark Andrews right now. A case can be made for Sam Laporta. I got to see more. But right now, Mark Andrews, you have to focus in on him. You can't just leave him open. Isaiah Likely, we talked about it last week. Top 10 tight end in the league, easily. I mean, who's gonna question that? Phenomenal. He'd be starting on any other franchise, not the Ravens. But from what I'm hearing, the Ravens are going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets this year. These guys are going to have to be on the field at the same time to take advantage of their skill set. You cannot leave Isaiah Likely on the sidelines with this type of offense. It just doesn't make much sense. So expect a lot of 2 receiver, maybe 1 receiver sets with 2 or 3 tight ends on the field. So you got Isaiah Likely, you got Mark Andrews, you got Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. Yeah, we talked about it last week, a question mark. But even if he's just your haphazard run-in-the-mill receiver, he's still going to get his yards because this offense is going to be a problem as far as stopping the run, and it's going to clear up some passing lanes for Lamar Jackson. That's the offense. That's what we're looking at here. In this contest, we have the Kansas City Chiefs trying to find a way to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and praying to God that the passing lanes are not available for Lamar Jackson to make him pay if they commit to stopping the run. And that's really the game plan as far as it goes with the Chiefs against the Ravens. On the Chiefs, you don't have Snead anymore. Of course, we all remember Snead for that huge forced fumble in the end zone that would have pretty much tied the game for the Ravens and made a contest of it. Likely a different outcome without that Snead forced fumble. He's no longer there. They got McDuffie, of course. Yes, he's a great corner, and not much else after that. No disrespect to the Chiefs fans watching this. No disrespect to the Chiefs players if they're watching this. Not much else outside of that. Sorry. There's not much else. Do they need that much else when the game plan, I'm assuming going into this, will be to run the football down the Chiefs' throat? We'll see. We'll see. Sometimes I get this suspicious feeling that the Ravens are really going to do what we think they're going to do. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. They do have Chris Jones. Jones is the beast, and he could be a disruptive force, especially because outside of Tyler Linderbaum, the interior of the offensive line is a huge question mark. You got Angie Voorhees, you got Daniel Falele or Ben Cleveland. Who knows? That's to be determined. In that interior, Chris Jones can cause problems. We don't know what type of damage he can do. It specifically depends on what the Ravens do to combat it. I'm sure the Ravens are going to have the game plan to key in on Jones because he's a force. So we'll see. And that's literally the Chiefs' defense. The Chiefs don't have a great run defense. They don't. They didn't have one last year, which is why the drama about why the Ravens didn't run the ball surfaced. They don't have much of one this year. I mean, there is an offseason in the National Football League, and they could have used that offseason to build the skill set of their players, but it's not much to show on film or, on paper. So the Chiefs are going to have to sell themselves to stop the run, I think, in this game, especially with the addition of Derrick Henry. I've had some people talk about how the Chiefs loaded the box and forced the Ravens to pass the ball. No, they stacked the box. I mean, you'd be a fool not to at times, but even in those moments, the Ravens had success running the ball. What happened was when the Ravens saw a soft box, they thought, okay, we can trick them. We can pass the ball. We can force them into thinking that we're going to throw the ball and then use that light box later on to run the ball down your throat. I'm assuming that's the game plan. Again, I do not know. It's Fort Knox over there when it comes to the AFC Championship. Tough to talk about. I get it. The fact of the matter is you have Derrick Henry, and if you're not stacking the box against Derrick Henry, you're in trouble. And if you are stacking the box to stop Derrick Henry, you're in trouble because you got Lamar Jackson. And if you are stacking the box to stop Lamar Jackson, you're in trouble because you have Derrick Henry. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? It's going to be a tough day. I don't know what to tell you. But it's not all rainbows and sunshines. We go over to the other side, the Chiefs offense. We talked about this last year. The Chiefs offense wasn't that great. Patrick Mahomes, as phenomenal as he is and winning the Super Bowl and all that, historically, meh. That's because the Chiefs, my apologies, didn't have the passing attack. They didn't have the pass catchers. They struggled dropping the ball, struggled gaining separation. That changed. The Chiefs picked up Xavier Worthy out of Texas. 4.21. You're going to hear that number a lot when you're talking about the Chiefs because that is just stupid fast. And to combat that skill set, to combine that skill set, Xavier Worthy isn't too bad when it comes to catching the ball, especially those deep throws. We saw it with Patrick Mahomes in the preseason. So he's going to be a problem. And the Ravens better find a way to contain him. They didn't have to deal with that last year. And I'm sure Andy Reid is going to find a way to use Xavier Worthy to clear passing lanes for Travis Kelce, a guy who we mentioned earlier, who's better than Mark Andrews. Until proven otherwise, Travis Kelce. Taylor Swift's BF. Oh, so annoying to talk about the Chiefs and just hear Taylor Swift comments come out my social media. So weird, but we digress. Travis Kelce, he's a problem. He scored the Chiefs touchdown, on Kyle Hamilton, a great throw, great route run. It was just a perfect display of what Andy Reid's all about. Clearing lanes, forcing the defense to think one way, and having Kyle Hamilton alone with Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes got the better of Kyle Hamilton there. That's all there is, but that's the problem. When you have Xavier Worthy and you don't have the capability or, the ability as a coordinator to really push guys at the line of scrimmage because of what Xavier Worthy can do, it's going to be a challenge. Isaiah Pacheco, a running back, a dog. He had a decent game in the AFC Championship game. A lot of that goes underlooked. Early on, Pacheco was doing fairly well for himself. In fact, in the postseason, he was probably one of the better backs in all of football. I mean, it was a sight to behold if you were a football fan. Not much of a Ravens fan, but if you're a football fan, of course, you enjoyed that. So the Ravens had to deal with Pacheco, Kelce, Xavier Worthy. And of course, Patrick Mahomes, as Stephen A. Smith would call him, a bad man. And he is a bad man. He is unbelievable. His ability to make throws in the pocket, but as well moving away from the pocket is just unmatched. It's unmatched. It's just great to see as a football fan, a QB able to do that at the highest level in the sport. So the Ravens are going to have a heart to heart with themselves. How are we going to stop these guys? They had a great game plan going into it, but the Ravens need to understand that Xavier Worthy brings an element to this game that wasn't there in the AFC Championship game. This isn't the same game, guys. This is a different beast come week one, because Xavier Worthy, though he's a rookie, do not underestimate him because of what Andy Reid is able to do. He's going to put that guy in position to make plays. You'll see a lot of stuff a la when they had Tyreek Hill. Lucky for the Ravens, Marquise Brown isn't available, although Marquise Brown doesn't have the ability to really catch over the middle. He's not really the type of guy you have to worry about inside the numbers, at least from what I've seen so far in his career. Xavier Worthy is a question mark. We don't know how he'll handle that. And the Ravens will surely test him. He's going to make a couple of plays, but I'm sure the Ravens will test him. And on the defense, you got the Ravens. We talked about it last week. The DBs, dogs, best in the league, bar none. You got Eddie Jackson. He's not even starting, guys. Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton. They got Bo Braid. And that's just the safeties. At corner, you got Marlon Humphrey, back from injury, looking like 100%. You got Brandon Stevens, fourth-year guy, solidifying himself as one of the better corners in the league. You got Nate Wiggins, a guy who looked amazing coming out of Clemson as a rookie. Dylan Armour-Davis, Ardarius Washington. Do I need to go on? I mean, a lot of these names are names you're familiar with if you're a Ravens fan. And if you're not a Ravens fan and you're listening in, you're going to learn them really quickly. It's just what the Ravens have right now. They're very solid at DB, and they're going to have the skills to match up with whatever the Chiefs bring with Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster or whoever else is out there, Rashee Rice. They got guys to cover them. But it's not going to be about the ability of the corners to match up with the Chiefs receivers. It's going to be whether or not Zach Orr can match, go toe-to-toe with the head coach / OC, Andy Reid. And Andy Reid's philosophy and his schematics, the routes create problems for defenders. You saw it in the first half of the AFC Championship game. You're probably going to see a little more of that in this game. Will it be enough to stop the Ravens? We'll talk about it a little later. But the matchup we need to watch out for may not be the Chiefs' offense versus the Ravens' defense per se. It's going to be the mind of Andy Reid versus the mind of Zachary Orr, first-time DC, never called a play before outside of the preseason in the professional, high school, or college level. This is the first time. All signs point to a good showing. But remember, Mike McDonald struggled the first part of his first year as DC in Baltimore. We're asking a lot of Zachary Orr in this game. We're asking a lot for him to manage the game, for him to be able to respond to what Andy Reid's trying to accomplish. The players are going to play, but it's going to be the chess match between Andy Reid, one of the greatest to ever do it, against Zachary Orr, first-time DC. That's the matchup we're watching. If Zachary Orr comes correct, it's probably curtains. It's probably curtains. We'll talk a little more about that at the end of the show, my predictions. But this is the foundation we're talking about. The first part of the show is to tell you guys this is not 2023. This is 2024. Different players on both sides. On both sides. So if you're thinking it's going to be the same game as last year, may want to hold off on that. But if that changed the outcome of the game, we will see, and we will talk about it. Up next, we'll give an overview of the Ravens season so far. Well, not so far. We'll talk about what the Ravens are going to do this season, at least my predictions. Some guys who I expect to step up, some guys who may fall short, in my opinion. We'll dissect it next on Ravens Talk. Welcome back to Ravens Talk. Talked about the Ravens and Chiefs for a second. We'll come back to that, but I really want to dissect or speak about my predictions for the upcoming season. I want to start with the AFC North. The AFC North, it's going to be a battle. There's three teams that know the Ravens very well and vice versa. It's going to be a dogfight. And you know I love me a dogfight. So who do I think wins the division? You know what? Let's take a step back and start from 4-1. Who's going to finish last in the division? I think it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't have the defense. There are three teams in this division with amazing defenses, and then you have the Bengals. I don't see it, guys. I don't see how you win with the poorest defense in this division. Of course, they're a division opponent. They may grab a win or two here, but I just don't see them doing enough to be better than the other three teams in this division. I'm sure you will bookmark this, quote me on it. I just don't see it. Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback. We all know that. And him pairing up with Jamar Chase, if he ever gets that deal done, as of this recording, that hasn't happened. We'll see. They're a duo to be feared, of course, along with T. Higgins. But I don't see it. I just don't see it. And so I'm going to put it on the internet and the podcast waves, wherever you want to call it, and predict that the Bengals finish fourth in the AFC North and miss the playoffs. At 3, Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns have a chance to make the playoffs. I think they'll be fighting for that playoff spot. They have a great defense. In fact, I think their secondary rivals the Ravens defense. And if you had to ask me, I might even give them the edge. That's how great their defense is. It's all about what can Deshaun Watson do. He struggled last year when he was healthy. It just seemed like he was in control of the offense. No Nick Chubb for a considerable amount of time. Jerome Ford is great. In fact, he's pretty damn good if you ask me. But is he enough to carry this team along with Deshaun Watson, who really has yet to find his footing, even though he signed a max contract, fully guaranteed? We won't get into that right now, but I just don't see it for the Browns as far as potentially winning this division. Instead, I see them finishing third and fighting for the playoffs. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. But they'll definitely be third in the AFC North. Number 2, Ravens, Steelers. Ravens, Steelers. Steelers finished second. Love their defense. I think their defense doesn't get a lot of respect, which is kind of crazy considering the talent they have on our defense. I love their defense, headed by TJ Watt. We talked to Chris Carter last week about it. I really like what the Steelers bring to the table. And Russell Wilson, even though he's kind of the worst quarterback in the division, a case can be made for Deshaun Watson right now, but I'll give it to Russell Wilson based on what we've seen from him the last 2 seasons. But he is still way better than, I don't want to say way better. He's better than Kenny Pickett. How much better, we'll find out, but he's better than Kenny Pickett, and I think that's enough to catapult the Steelers to second place. I think they earned themselves a playoff spot. Don't knock Mike Tomlin. I still think he's one of the better head coaches in the league. In fact, I think he's top 5. I think they do enough to get into the playoffs and earn themselves a 2 spot in the AFC North. And of course, number 1, we talked about it all offseason. The Baltimore Ravens repeat as AFC North champions for the 2024 season. It's just a matter of how do you stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson? I continue to ask this question, and no one has an answer for me. Hope one of them gets hurt, I guess, maybe. Hope one of them has a bad game. Good luck. If you have a 2-time MVP and one of the greatest to ever do it in Derrick Henry, sure, I guess you can hope for that. But until proven otherwise, this combo is lethal and is going to catapult them to an AFC North title. When we get back, we'll talk about what the Ravens will be doing in the playoffs. What seed will they be in? Are there other teams in the AFC that can pose a threat as we get ready for the 2024 season? Next on Ravens Talk. Welcome back to Ravens Talk again. We talked about the Ravens-Chiefs game, at least the matchups that we're looking at. We talked about the division. Who's going to win it? I got the Ravens doing it and the Bengals finishing last. So, of course, that'll probably be the 2 talking points as we head over to the regular season. And now we talk about the playoffs. Who do we think gets there in the AFC? I'm not going to do the NFC because that's another conference. This is the Ravens Talk podcast. We talk AFC over here. But who makes it in the AFC? 7 teams do. Who's at number 7? The 7th seed. Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Steelers do just enough to get in there. Again, we talked about it. Their defense is one of the best. Underrated somehow. They get in at 7. Russell Wilson does enough to push them up a peg. I know Kenny Pickett gone. Russell Wilson is a clear upgrade no matter how you slice it. Not enough to get them into the division title, but enough to get them into the playoffs and to potentially be an upset. An easy, well, I don't say easy, a tough out for an opposing team come playoff time. Number 6, the New York Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers is good, but he's old. Their defense is great, but I just don't see the Jets doing enough to win in that division. I do like the Jets to make the playoffs. I think their defense is enough to have just a capable quarterback get them there, and Aaron Rodgers is definitely that. I just don't think that he has what it takes to combat the other teams in this division. He gets in as a wild card with the 6th seed, Jets at 6. Number 5, Buffalo Bills. Last year, the Bills got in as a division championship in the last week of the season. This year, no Stephon Diggs and a Dolphins team that is hungry, very similar to the Ravens. The Bills get the 5 seed and become a wild card team, and that's a tough wild card team in the AFC. 4 seed, Dolphins. Dolphins win the division, get the job done. They do battle with the Buffalo Bills, and we'll see. I mean, those 2 teams do not like each other. The fan bases don't like each other. I do like the Dolphins a lot. I think that Dolphins' offense is explosive, and the defense can do just enough to get them that division title. Dolphins at 4. Who's at 3? Surprise, surprise, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs get the 3 seed. Yeah, they're Super Bowl champions back to back, but they're going to be taking everyone's best shot. It's going to be a lot on the line. They did lose Snead. Their defense is capable. They just don't know how to stop the run. I think opposing teams are going to key in on that, especially in the AFC, and they fall to the 3 seed. They're still going to be a tough out. They still may win the Super Bowl, but they get the 3 seed here. The 2 seed, Baltimore Ravens. With the chance to change my answer later, but I have to go Ravens here. The Ravens are a very great football team. The offensive line gives me some pause, the question marks. How will their offensive line mesh together? There's 3 new starters there. We don't know who they are as of yet. We'll know more on game day, but for right now, that offensive line is in flux. Of course, I expect them to improve, but just based on what I've seen on paper and who my number 1 team is, I got to give the number 2 spot to the Ravens. And it may be enough. The 1 seed has never done the Ravens any favors. The Ravens have never won a championship with the 1 seed. So maybe it's the 2 seed that gets the job done for the Ravens. We'll see. But I do have them at 2. And the number 1 team in the AFC, Houston Texans. CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Joe Mixon. What? What? The Texans were a phenomenal team last year, albeit with a quarterback who had just got his footing being a rookie, first-year head coach, a defense to be feared. I just think they take that next step and become the best team in the AFC. Does that mean they win a championship? I'll hold the horses on that, but I think they do enough in the regular season to earn that top spot. And I think the AFC championship runs through Houston. Now, We're not going to waste any time. No more commercial breaks or lack thereof. We're going to find out who's going to the Super Bowl in the AFC. I think it's the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens make it. Again, I think the addition of Derrick Henry is just ridiculous. It's just too much to overcome. I keep racking my brain around how opposing defenses find a way to stop this tandem. Coupled with the fact that they have a Zay Flowers, they have a Mark Andrews, they have an Isaiah Likely, they have a Rashad Bateman. It's just too much. It's too much. It's already hard enough on these defenses. You saw what the Ravens did without Derrick Henry. What do you think is going to happen with them? I just don't see it going any other way right now than the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. Of course, things happen. Injuries happen. I could just be wrong totally about the makeup of the offense as far as the offensive line. All that to be determined, but, it's fun to do it before the games actually start. And based on my beliefs and what I've seen from last year to this year, the additions, subtractions, yada, 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 the glitz, the glamour, the intrigue, the storylines, it just makes for a Ravens championship run. Who they face? Maybe the Lions. Maybe the 49ers step up. Maybe the Eagles, who the Ravens do play this season as well. We'll see. But I know for sure the Ravens take the AFC. Well, I don't want to say for sure. It's a prediction. But my prediction, I feel pretty good about. Ravens defeat the Texans in Houston, head on to the championship in New Orleans. When we come back, we'll get our predictions for the game coming up. Ravens-Chiefs. Remember, the Chiefs are still Super Bowl champions, prevented the Ravens from winning their third Lombardi trophy. Did the Ravens get some revenge, or is it back to the drawing board in week one? We'll find out next on Ravens Talk. Welcome back to Ravens Talk. Ravens are Super Bowl champions in 2025, according to myself. But did they win week one? Did they get the job done against the Chiefs in Arrowhead? With the makeshift offensive line, a fully dedicated Andy Reid, and the Ravens having a DC that's green around the horns, even though he's had NFL experience as a player, as far as coaching and calling plays, never done it. Definitely never done it against the likes of Andy Reid. So what do I think? I think the Ravens win. I think the Ravens win. I think you can't tell me the Chiefs have a plan to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson with that unit. There may be other teams out there. I'm not saying the Ravens go 17-0. I mean, clearly I don't, because I saw the Ravens as a 2 seed. But I just think that the Ravens are set up to beat the Chiefs. There's going to be a lot of emotion. A lot of emotion. Trust me. The Ravens are saying all the right things. The coaches are saying all the right things. I'm telling you, the coaches are amped up for this game. There's a lot on the line. Of course, the Chiefs, Super Bowl champions, banners going to drop. La-di-da. I mean, sure. And you still have Patrick Mahomes, so you can't take him lightly. But I still go back to what I said prior to the AFC Championship game. You can't stop the run. And if you put the pressure on the Chiefs, force them to try and stop the run, it just opens up so many opportunities. And I just believe with the addition of Derrick Henry that it's going to be too tall a task for the Chiefs defense, even though I have much respect for Spagnuolo. I just don't see it. Ravens win by a touchdown. That's my prediction. Could I be wrong? I was wrong in January. I'll tell you that. I was wrong in January. I just don't see it. Chiefs need to find a way to shore up that run defense. Of course, they had the offseason. We don't know. That's the fun of this week one matchup. We don't know what changed in the offseason as far as getting these guys ready to stop the run. I didn't see it last year. I don't see the additions to make it happen this year. Picking the Ravens to win by 7. Let's make the score 27-20. Ravens win week one and move on to face the Raiders in Baltimore. That's going to do it for us here at Ravens Talk. I just made a couple of great predictions. It's going to put a smile on a lot of Ravens fans' faces. Bengals finished last. Ravens win the championship. They beat the former champions in week one and move on. The greener pastures. There's going to be a lot of high-fiving after Thursday. I have anything to say about it, but I don't. Players have to go and play their football game. We'll talk all about it. Remember, we're going 2 times a week now. We'll have a dissection of the game, and then the following episode, we'll start talking about what the Las Vegas Raiders will need to do to win and what the Ravens will have to do to possibly win and get that, hopefully, 2-0 stretch started for the Ravens. Again, That's going to do it for us here at Ravens Talk. I'm your host, Samuel Njoku. See you next time.